All right, we're back. Episode 11 of the Feel for the Game podcast. And we have just wrapped up the biggest week of college football this season. So much to talk about. So many huge games were played this Saturday. I feel like I was watching college football just in a coma, like a total brain lapse for 24 hours. Like, that's just all I was doing. Even after the games were over, I was rewatching games and going over film from these huge games, and I mean, there's so much to get into. So let's go ahead and start with the games that we visited. We'll start with Tennessee at Mississippi State. Landon, you went to this one. Initial thoughts?
Just sad after the result, but also happy that we were able to compete the way we did. Like, if you would have told somebody in the preseason that we would have even been in the situation we were in, they would have taken it for sure. And what really surprised me in the game was our ability to stop the run for Tennessee. We held them to like 100 yards going into overtime, and then we ran it for 200. That was a big shock to me. I didn't think we were capable of doing that because I thought Tennessee's line of scrimmage was a decent bit better than ours. But I mean, it was pretty competitive. Pass protection was pretty weak, and that ended up hurting us the most in the game with the two defensive touchdowns we gave them. But overall, solid performance. I was impressed, even in the loss, and I think we will have a good season going forward.
Yeah, this game feels like how I felt about Tennessee after they lost to Georgia. I know it's the same team y'all are playing against. I still really like Tennessee. I still really like Mississippi State. This isn't really changing how I feel about either team. I think going into Starkville and getting a road win, getting those two defensive scores for Tennessee, that was clutch. They made the plays they needed to make the win on the road in the SEC, and it probably should have been a ranked matchup. So I like what I saw from Tennessee. I like what I saw from State, dropping 34 points against Tennessee's defense, even though they were not winning in the trenches in this game. Like we talked about, that was going to be a big emphasis. They were still competitive. And like you also said, nobody really was expecting this to be the case at the beginning of the season, other than me. I did predict that State was going to go
You did
4
have
0,
this.
and then they unfortunately were going to lose to Tennessee. We did not record that into the podcast. We talked about how we were going to structure this, and we wanted to do every single team and break them all down. And it just didn't make sense. It was too much preseason content that really doesn't matter at the end of the day. But for what it's worth, I kind of saw some things from Mississippi State that I couldn't pass up on the opportunity to pick them to win some of these games. So here we are. State's 4-1, exactly where I thought they would be. So I'm impressed with them. Impressed with Tennessee. It was a really good game. It was a really, really good game. I think we both ended up picking Tennessee for this game in a close one, so we pretty much nailed this one. But I think moving forward, Mississippi State's going to be a giant killer pick
They're
in
going
a
to give
lot
a
of
lot of
games.
teams a lot of problems.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the fact that they were 2-10 last year and playing the way they're playing right now, all credit to Jeff Levy and the coaching staff and the players coming together and forming the unity they have on this team right now to be competitive is really impressive. So not a win for Mississippi State, but it feels like a moral win. So, as if I was a Bulldog fan, I'd be happy about this. I saw Brandon Walker, which out of all the state fans that are semi-famous or have any sort of online presence, he's probably my least favorite. Not because I just don't like him, I just think he's kind of ridiculous. But he's
He's crazy.
funny. He's really funny. He was talking about this game, and he said basically in essence what we've said. Like he was mad for probably about 10 minutes that they lost. And he feels like they should have won. But at the same time, he's not really mad at Mississippi State for losing. Like, he's happy with the result, is what I'm saying. And so, even people as irrational as Brandon Walker can see that Mississippi State is exceeding expectations. You have to acknowledge that they're exceeding far and above the expectations that anybody set for them. Vegas had their over under win total at like 3.5, and they're already ahead of that, and they're barely halfway through the season. So, all credit to Mississippi State. I mean, it sounded like it was a really fun game to be at. I bet the environment was
Oh, it
crazy.
was crazy. I know people said like Tennessee came over there and took it over and ruined the environment, but that's not true whatsoever.
I don't believe
They
that
did
for
have
a
a lot of
second.
fans in there. A lot of people are overhyping what it was like
Absolutely.
for
Compared
Tennessee.
to the Arizona State game, what was it like?
I thought the Arizona State game was a little louder and more energy just because it was at night and just the way we ended up winning it. But like in the meat of the game, this was just as good.
Yeah, and I'm sure y'all had way more fans at the Arizona State games because they don't travel well across to Mississippi.
Yeah.
So, that being the case, I'm sure that was how it was. But great game there. Let's move on to LSU
One
at
more
Ole
thing I
Miss.
actually want to say about that game was State's ability to bounce back from those two just back-breaking turnovers. They went and got leads after both of those. I mean, giving up a pick six in a scoop and score and being able to fight back and still compete in the game just says a lot about the team and the coaching staff to me.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the mark of a really gutsy like team that just
Yep.
has the want to win. Like they don't want to quit
A
when
lot
they're
of teams
down.
would fold after stuff like that.
Like state
And
team
it's such a
last year
gamble.
would probably have folded, even though that team had some fight in them. I know
They
they went
did
to
fight. They
retain.
just had no talent. They wouldn't have even been in the situations that we were in yesterday
Yeah,
or the other day.
there's Ole Miss and state teams back in the late teens that when they started getting down, they started having key mistakes like that. It just seemed like they lost hope and they quit trying.
Arnett's state team would have crumpled and lost like 52-10
Yeah,
if
a
something
Matt
like
Luke
that
Ole
happened to
Miss
us
team
early.
would have gotten trounced and it would have sucked because they had the offensive firepower to win a lot of games and they just couldn't. So yeah, I think that's a huge takeaway. Glad you threw that in there. We definitely needed to focus on that a little bit. But yeah, moving on to LSU Ole Miss. I was at this game. We nailed this one too. So as far as games that we have actually been to, we are nailing the games that we're going
Have
to.
we got one wrong yet?
I don't know that we have.
I
We
don't.
need to double check this for the next podcast, but I'm pretty sure we're undefeated. Both of us are. I think we're both picking these games right around the same.
I
So
think we are.
I mean, we lock in on these games specifically. I know most of them are state on this games because that's just the easiest ones for us to go to, and we're a little biased. But the fact that we're getting these games right, I think, shows our feel for the game is pretty spot on. So when we're locked in, when we got our information that we need, and we really like how we feel about it, we're pretty spot on. So LSU comes into Ole Miss and does exactly what we thought they would do. They could not run the ball. And everyone was saying Ole Miss's rush defense is so bad. LSU's finally going to be able to run the ball. Even if they don't have Caden Durham, they've got a five-star running back. They can do it. Didn't happen. Did not happen. And their five-star running back did score in the fourth quarter, by the way, but I think he had that one run. Pretty much. He had like a first down run and then he scored the touchdown. I mean, they had their drive extended by penalties, and they were going to score on that drive. That's just how it was going to be. But overall, Ole Miss outgained LSU by almost two. I think it was over 200 yards.
I think it was like 480 to like 250 or something. It was
Yeah,
something absurd. I can look
Nuss
that
threw
up.
for sub 200 yards. I think it was like 197. I think that was a career low in yardage for him. So got to give props to the secondary for Ole Miss, even though they flagged us for PI like 5 times
He
in this
went for
game.
197.
Yeah,
It was
career low.
yeah, it was 480 to 254.
I mean, I kind of was wondering if we were going to be able to stop the big plays. They took some shots on us. There was one play they should have scored on that I was like, we just got beat on this play and they should have scored. They had Chris Hilton over the top, ISO on the outside, and Nuss just underthrows this ball so poorly. I can't remember if it was a PI or if we got away with a PI. There were so many spotty calls on both sides. I can't even remember. I was so frustrated with the officiating. Almost had 14 penalties in this game, by the way, just for a little bit of ball knowledge there. People who didn't watch the game, they had 14 penalties for over 100 yards. That's ridiculous. So they missed this throw. Nussmeier absolutely had him open by 2 or 3 steps. He leads him. It's a touchdown, changes the game, misses the throw. I think they might have kicked a field goal, but I'm pretty sure we got stopped there. So they didn't score a touchdown. That ended up being a huge difference in the
They
game.
kicked 4 field goals in this game, correct?
They had 19. They went for two
Or no, they went for
once.
2. Yeah, they kicked 2 field goals.
So yeah, I think they only had two. But LSU couldn't run the ball. They couldn't protect the quarterback, and they didn't hit the big plays down the field, which is the three things I was focused on. I was like, if they can hit big plays down the field, that will be tough for us to stop because I'm already concerned to see if we'll be able to stop the run game. But with how bad LSU's been, how bad their all offensive line's been playing, I just felt really good about it. The matchup just felt good, and Ole Miss dominated on both sides in the trenches. Our O line was actually able to protect the quarterback, and I really thought that LSU had better talent on the other side. I thought that their trenches were just so much more athletic than the guys we had on the O line and better sized and more equipped to win the game. They didn't win that area on the field, and it showed. I mean, we protected Trinidad for the most part. The first three drives were a little murky for Ole Miss. We couldn't really get anything open. They were completely strapping all our wide receivers. I mean, there was just nothing open, and Trinidad was just trying to not turn the ball over, not get sacked, which is what I love about him. He does not force the football, and he does not take sacks. He's not going to force something that's not there, probably 9.9 out of 10 times. That's why he's so good. It's not because he's the best runner in the entire college football landscape at the quarterback position, or that he's got the best deep ball, or he's got the best intermediate passing. It's his decision making. He's played a ton of football and it shows. But we nailed this game. We had a really good feel for how it was going to play out, and it played out just about exactly how we thought it would. LSU, I think they had like 55 rushing yards. It was less than 60 rushing.
57 rushing yards.
Golly, man. I mean, I know Kenny Durham didn't play in this game. I talked to somebody the other
3.6
day,
per carry.
and they were like, "Yeah, Kenny Durham didn't play in this game. I mean, if he played, we definitely would have run the ball better. We would have won." Like,
Wouldn't have mattered.
it would not have mattered because he didn't do it in other games.
You can put Barry Sanders back there prime. He'd probably still get 60 yards.
I mean, I think they would struggle to run the ball with a lot of people. That's probably a stretch. I mean, it just goes to show that like they have talent at that position that they still can't run the ball. It's play calling and it's offensive line play. I don't think it's a running back issue. I really don't. I think if you put those running backs in Ole Miss, I think they probably play a lot better. Even though our offensive line's not that great, they still play better. So LSU has some problems. We identified this. It's offensive line play, and to be honest with you, I think there's some issues at the quarterback position. So the ability to run the ball and protect the quarterback, that really showed. We didn't necessarily get a ton of sacks in this game, but we got pressure on the quarterback. It impacted the game. We dropped 8. That was the one thing I was like, if Ole Miss will just sit back in coverage and force LSU to run the ball, we'll probably have a really good chance to win. And that's exactly what Pete Golding did. We dropped 8, we rushed 3, and still got pressure on the quarterback. If you can do that, you're winning the game. I remember when Ole Miss played Arkansas one year. We had Matt Corral's year. He had like 6 interceptions. They dropped 8 on us and got pressure. Matt Corral just kept throwing picks. Lane Kiffin kept him on the field for all credits due to Lane Kiffin for trusting his quarterback. But we just had no answer for it. We couldn't run the ball. We were one dimensional, and so we just kept throwing it, kept throwing picks, kept throwing picks. So it was the opposite of what LSU was doing. LSU should have been running the ball, but they weren't. They just had no confidence in the run game. Brian Kelly didn't have any confidence. I'm sure that the offensive coordinator had no confidence. And even the running backs at this point have to be feeling the weight of like, one, we're not getting the blocking we need. 2, everybody knows we suck at running the ball. So, like, maybe we do suck. Maybe at some point they start feeling that way. I don't know. It definitely is going to leak into the locker room. I think that's a problem with the position group that the coaches need to address. So, yeah, I love how we predicted these 2 games. We were spot on with these. It was a great game to be at. That was one of the loudest I've ever seen Vaught Hemingway be ever. The fans were going ridiculous. We didn't rush the field. I think that's a statement as to this was a big win for Ole Miss, yes, and Lane Kiffin, yes, but it wasn't the game we didn't expect to win. A lot of people felt like Ole Miss was going to win this game.
I mean, y'all were favored about 2.5, right?
Vegas felt that way too, and we won, and we didn't rush the field. I'm proud of all the drunk college students in the student section for actually staying in their seats, despite the fact that there were at least 40 armed security guards lined up in front of the student section and barricades everywhere. Nobody tried anything stupid, made us look really good. I know Lane Kiffin's happy about that. Maybe we'll buy half of one of their DBs next year and improve our pass defense a little bit more. But yeah, I think that's enough for both of those games. We nailed them.
There is one more thing I want to point out a little bit, though. And that's that I'm not 100% sold on LSU's defense yet. I mean, they gave up 480 yards to y'all, and y'all had that one fumble, right, that went through the end zone
Yeah.
and like took away a touchdown, and then all the penalties. Like, y'all were not far from a big day offensively that could have exposed some problems that their defense has.
Yeah, we had trouble running the ball. All credit to LSU. We stuck with it though. I think we had 23 carries with Lacey, and he only had like 70 something yards. But he popped some big runs. He had a touchdown run, a couple first down runs that were crucial, but he didn't have anything over 20 yards in this game. So it's not like we were running all over him. Trinidad had like 50 something yards, so he had scrambles that we needed. But I mean, yeah, their rush defense is really solid. We knew that coming into the
I think
game.
their defense is still solid, but the way some people were talking about it, I don't know if it's going to live up to those people's expectations.
So here's what I would say. I think this is the best way to look at LSU's defense. This was a bad matchup for them. We are like 5 or 6 deep at wide receiver. We isolated Mansour Delane on the far side against Harrison Wallace. He didn't do anything in this game. Harrison Wallace was one of our best receivers. He barely got the ball in this game. I think he had 1 catch. It was a good catch, but it was only 1 catch. We were able to find matchups that we liked on guys like DJ Pickett and other guys that maybe weren't as good as Mansour Delane, and we just picked on those guys the whole game. Deuce had a great game. Caden Lee had a great game. Stribling had a couple drops, which sucks, but he played okay other than the drops. Winston Watkins came in for relief of Caden Lee a couple times. He had some crucial catches. He's a true freshman. We picked on their DBs. It wasn't Mansour Delane, but I mean, we had the matchups we wanted. It was there. We ran the ball when we needed to. We protected the quarterback. We just have an offense that is tailored to getting the guys open that we want in the matchups we want. And we are confident our quarterback can get the ball to them and they're going to make a play. A lot of offenses aren't confident they can do that. So I don't think LSU is going to see many more offenses that are going to be like Ole Miss, especially having to go on the road to play them. I mean, Ole Miss at home has been one of the best teams in the country the past 4 years. We've been incredible at home. And offensively at home, we play our best football, which maybe that says a lot about our character on the road that we can't perform well offensively sometimes. But that'll be tested against Georgia and Oklahoma later. But that's a good point. LSU has some questionable things on defense as well. Pass defense, we threw for 300 yards on them. Nobody's done that all season. They haven't played a good passing team so far. But this is a reality check for LSU. If defense isn't as much of a strength as they thought, maybe they're not as good as we thought at all. Maybe they're significantly overrated and not just a little bit. So we both knew that LSU was overrated before this game, and the results on the field proved it. But we might not be low enough on them. I'm not bought on that yet. I still think they have way too much talent to be a more than 3 or 4 loss team this year. So I'm not ready to sell out on that yet, but I think that we're all over this team and what they profiled at. So let's get into our week 5 recap now. There's just so many good games on this slate. It's incredible that we got these first 3 on Friday night. This was probably the best Friday night slate I've seen in as long as I can remember. It was epic. All
It
these games came
delivered
down to the
just
wire.
so well. It was crazy.
Yeah, and it delivered for some betters for sure. Virginia beats Florida State at home, comes back and beats them in overtime after blowing the lead that they had. They were up in this game by several scores and let FSU back into it. It looked like FSU was going to go down and win. And Deuce, is it Deuce Alexander? Is that his name?
Yes.
He dropped a wheel route that was an easy touchdown. Like, I was shocked that he dropped it. Like, I try to never say stuff like this because it makes me sound like completely ridiculous, but you put me on that field probably 8 out of 10 times I'm catching that. I would probably say the same about you. Like, it just doesn't matter. Like, it hit him literally in the chest. He had both arms right around the football to cradle it, and he just finds a way to bobble it. Like, you're already in the end zone. There's no need to catch and run. Just secure the ball and fall down, and you score a touchdown. It wasn't even that hard of a throw. Like, I'm pretty sure Tommy Castellanos laid it in there. Like, he had to drive it, but it wasn't like he put 100% effort into the throw. Deuce drops it. They lose this football game. Chandler Morris wins the game and still throws 3 interceptions. So bad luck stat there. Like, he absolutely played his tail off in this game, but still threw 3 picks, and they won. So that tells you a lot about Virginia, the fact that they can turn the ball over 3 times against a really good team and still win.
He did have 5 touchdowns himself, though, to balance that out a little bit.
Oh yeah, I mean, like I said, he played his tail off. I thought he played incredible. The 3 interceptions sucks because it makes him look like he didn't play near as good as he did, but he played like a dog in this game. Like, it was like watching a prime Haynes King game where he just dominates on the ground and through the air and carries his team. And I thought that's what Chandler Morris did. And Tommy Castellanos did that against Alabama, but he did not do that against Virginia. He played well down the stretch in this game and gave his team a chance. But I definitely felt like Chandler Morris was the better quarterback on the field.
I
So
just can't believe this is the same defense that shut down Bama.
yeah, again, that goes back to our overreactions and lessons from last fall. Like, you just can't overreact to week 1 games. And Florida State was way too high. We should have probably seen the fact that there were teams on their schedule in the ACC that were giant killers. Like, Virginia had a great offense. We talked about it last week. We did point out that this game was sketchy, but I think we were confident enough in FSU's defense to not give up this many points, but they did. So FSU comes back down to earth here. A little more realistic expectations after going 2-10 last year. I think it's really neat to me that the 2 teams last year that went 2-10, Mississippi State and Florida State, are both 4-1 right now.
Or
And
no,
in my
Florida State's
opinion,
only 3-1. They've already had a bye week.
no. Well, regardless, they only have 1 loss at this point in
Yeah.
the season, and they've won a big game. I like both those teams. I think Florida State and Mississippi State should both be ranked. I don't know why Mississippi State is not ranked, but regardless, they coaching on both these teams and recruiting has been really great to get them to where they're at. So I'm not sleeping on Florida State. I actually am higher on them than when I started the season. And even after this loss, I think it just makes it makes them come back down to earth because they were a little overrated, and I kind of felt like with how the narrative was around them that I needed to rank them higher. And then I was like, no, I know how I feel about this team, but maybe I just need more reason to feel the way I do. And this game just proved it. So let's move on. That was a great game, but
One
moving
more
on.
thing I'd like to add is when I made that post last week about overrated teams, the first team out was Florida State. I so heavily considered putting them in the overrated category, but I just didn't.
Yeah,
Definitely should have.
I think that it's really tough doing a podcast because there's so many narratives out there that kind of try to trap you and make you think that you should think a certain way about a team. And we talked about this before. We try to fight against the narratives and see through the bull crap because there's actual football being played and people just start creating narratives of stuff that they think is going to happen or should be the case. That doesn't matter. You're not a coach. You're not a player. You don't impact the games on the field. So you making a narrative just should not dictate how other people think about things. And that you could apply that to just podcasts in general, but people who actually watch football and are making takes as opposed to creating fake narratives, that's two different things. So whether you like podcasts or not, I don't think that we're spreading crazy narratives on our podcast. We're actually breaking down games and we're looking at the players on the field and the results and then making judgment calls. That's a lot different. But I agree. I think that was a team in my mind that was probably a little too high. I just wasn't comfortable enough to move them down yet. So seeing what I've seen from Alabama, it still confuses me a little bit because I think Alabama's still a good football team, like I've been saying. So quality win, not so great loss, but you can't win them all. With the stage of college football that we're in, you can't win every game. TCU at Arizona State. We nailed this one too. Had this game by a field goal leaning to Arizona State, guess what happened? Arizona State wins by a field goal in comeback fashion. At home against TCU, Josh Hoover does not have his best outing here, throwing a couple interceptions. I don't think he had any touchdowns through the air. They played okay. They had the lead. Arizona State just fought back in this game.
They
Jordan
had the
Tyson looked back.
17 to nothing start just like State did, except Arizona State was able to win it this time.
I think that's a huge testament to Kenny Dillingham and his coaching staff that they've been there before. This time they were at home and they had an answer. And actually, I felt like they threw the ball in this game. I thought Sam Levitt played really well running the ball on the ground and improvising, but man, Jordan Tyson came up with a clutch touchdown this game. He played incredibly well. One of his best games of the season against a TCU defense that's solid. Um, I I like TCU a lot. I like Arizona State a lot. I think a lot of people felt like TCU was probably the better team here. They could be, but Arizona State was the better team Friday night, and they pulled out this win in comeback fashion. I was impressed from both teams. I know it was not a great outing from Josh Hoover, but that just shows you Arizona State's defense is solid. They're a well-rounded team, like we talked about, and I think they're still a contender in the Big 12. I picked them to win Big 12. I think they're at least going to have a shot to make it. I'm not confident enough to say right now that they're going to win it still, but I think they'll be in the conversation in November. But yeah, great game there. I mean, 2 for 2 on incredible games on Friday night.
One thing that stuck out to me in the end of this game is Arizona State actually outgained them 490 to 270.
Wow. So I guess even though they were down at some point, this game probably shouldn't have been as close as it was. You kind of saw that stat with Ole Miss and LSU, but Ole Miss had a lead after the first quarter for pretty much the whole game.
Well, they had to stretch in like the third and fourth quarters, or even one time it happened in the second quarter. I think they got in the red zone and threw an interception or something, but it was in the third and fourth quarters that would get into TCU territory and then just it would stall out. I think they missed 2 field goals,
Ugh.
had like 2 or 3 turnover on downs. Like if their offense would have been humming good, I mean they could have ended up putting up 40 something and running away with this game. But they were lucky to even win it with how they were getting down there and screwing around for a lot of this game.
Yeah, red zone offense is a huge stat. I remember Ole Miss offenses that had some of the best players that we put in the NFL offensively, like at wide receiver, and we just couldn't score in the red zone because we couldn't run the ball. And I'm not saying Arizona State can't run the ball,
They did run the ball. They ran it for 215 yards. I don't know. I don't know what was going on, but they just
but if your play
didn't do it
calling's
for a
off,
while.
or you don't have the right players in the right positions in the red zone to make those plays, you have to have stuff drawn up for that. When you get down there, you got to come up with touchdowns if you want to win big games. But in the end, Arizona State ended up being the team on top. I think it was 27-24, right?
Yes.
So they walk off a field goal, or was it? I think they just scored a field goal on their last drive and closed the game out, maybe.
They kicked a field goal to take the lead and then got an interception.
So game clinching interception on Josh Hoover. Yeah, that's impressive defense. I mean, TCU had an incredible outing last week against was it SMU last week?
SMU, yeah.
Yeah, they absolutely torched them. So coming into this game, I think Arizona State probably was very aware of that and game planned accordingly. So I like what I saw from them. Moving forward, the Big 12 has a lot of uncertainty, but one thing's for sure, Texas Tech looks like one of the best teams. So we'll get to them a little bit later. Ohio State at Washington. Biggest takeaway from this game is Ohio State's defense is so for real.
It's so great. Matt Patricia's done a fantastic job.
That was evident from the first game. I think people were just concerned about the offense, but Texas' defense is really good. So can't really take away credit from them there. First quarterback start for Julian Sayin against a great team. So that's why they had probably the output that they did there. They didn't play incredible offense against Washington, but it was good enough to win the game. They didn't really turn the ball over. I thought they ran the ball okay. Bo Jackson's emerging as one of the leading backs for this team. Despite C.J. Donaldson coming in the transfer portal, they've found a guy in Bo Jackson, which is funny that that's his name, to be probably the starting running back at Ohio State as a freshman. So that's a great pickup for them in the recruiting class. I really like Ohio State. I have them at number one. I had them at number one since week one. I don't see them moving for a while. I really don't. I feel like Washington was probably one of the biggest tests they were going to have until Michigan. So, I mean, Penn State's great and all, but they're not that great. I mean, if they can't get anything going on offense against Ohio State, they're cooked. They're definitely cooked.
It might be cooked against Indiana.
Absolutely. That game's going to be very interesting. And we're about to get to Penn State here in a second, but I don't want to take anything away from Washington. I thought Damon Williams, despite the fact that they couldn't score, I mean, he protected the ball decently well in this game. They just could not score in the red zone. And if they did, this game would have looked a lot different. People would have been saying a lot different things about Washington. This team absolutely can go win 9 or 10 games this year. I don't know that their defense is incredible or not, but they're definitely good enough at home to win big games. I really like Washington. I think Jonah Coleman's really good running back, and they have so much skill on offense. If they can hold up on the offensive line, continue to play consistently, not turn the ball over, they've got playmakers everywhere. So I like Washington. Saw some decent things, but you got to score in the red zone when you get there against good teams. That's just it. Can't kick field goals every time if you want to beat Ohio State. Moving on, unless you got anything about Washington or Ohio State, you want to share.
It really didn't change my perception of either team. I was a little bit surprised at Washington not scoring much, only getting 2 field goals, but Ohio State's defense is just so elite.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same ballpark there. I figured there'd be more points in this game, but good defense from Ohio State changed that. So, really interesting outcome there. This one was probably one of my favorite outcomes. Oregon at Penn State in the whiteout. Dante Moore gets a huge signature win. Dan Lanning also getting a signature win here. I mean, I saw everything I needed to see from Oregon. I know that they choked the lead that they had. I thought they were sitting comfortable in this game going into the fourth quarter. Penn State claws back in with a last second offensive exertion that I didn't think they had. I'm gonna be frank. They had 3 points going into the fourth
At
quarter,
100 yards.
and then they just decided, no, wait, oh, we need touchdowns to win the
Oh,
game.
wait, this is our biggest game of the year so far. Whiteout. We get to score some points now.
Yeah, and so they draw up some good plays to Devontae Ross to get in the ball, and he scored 2 touchdowns to tie the game up. Goes to overtime, double overtime, game sealing interception from Oregon, impact transfer safety from Purdue makes the game clinching interception. I think that's really cool. Guys stepping up from a lower program to a big time Big Ten, huge matchup, top 10 matchup, wide out at Penn State making the game sealing play. I think that's awesome that he gets to move up on a talent level based off of how he's been playing and play at a team like Oregon and make such an impact. So that's a really cool story. But I think the biggest storyline from this game is that Oregon's a really, really well rounded football team. Offensively and defensively, they've got so much that makes them probably have an argument to be number one right now. I just am having a hard time moving down Ohio State, but they look incredible. But Penn State, man, I mean, offensively is just it's awful. I don't know how on earth Drew Aller has regressed since last year, but he has. He is definitely regressed. The way he's throwing off his back foot, he's not driving the football. He's not accurate. When he gets under pressure, he makes terrible reads. In big situations when the game is on the line, he is throwing it to the other team. You just can't do that. When you're on a team with as much talent and cohesiveness and time spent coached, I mean, you can't be doing stuff like this. You cannot be in high pressure situations as a 3 year starting quarterback on a team that has been together for this long and coached together this long and throw the game away on an interception every single time. Like they did against Notre Dame. They did it against Oregon last year in the Big Ten championship. They did it again this year. When they get to the big game, he's just not winning it for him. And I know he gave him a chance in the fourth quarter making that touchdown throw to Ross, but Ross was the receiver who got open there. You're supposed to make that throw. That was a obvious touchdown throw design. Like they're like, hey, we have to score. Get Ross open. They pull that out their butts and he scores. Yeah, he made the throw. Great. That's the only throw he made the whole game. So gotta give credit to Oregon's defense. They played incredible, but Penn State's offense is just so mediocre. Nick Singleton and Katron Allen cannot be your whole offense. And they can only make such an impact on the game when you can't throw the ball. There's just no creativity on offense. They're not getting guys open. Like, perfect example. Ole Miss is an offense that will find matchups, and despite the fact that they may not have DK Metcalf or AJ Brown or Trey Harris on their roster this year, they are finding matchups they like and getting their receivers the ball. Penn State's not doing that.
They're playing and calling it like they can just line up and beat you just with having more talent, and that's just not how the game works anymore.
Yeah,
It's
and
just an archaic style. It's just the game is way past that.
And they're trying to do that against everybody, and it's showing. But when you play against Oregon, you're not more talented than them.
When you play that way, you can beat the teams that you're supposed to beat and more talented than. But when you play ones that you're equal to or less talented than, you don't have a chance.
I think
And
that
that's
does.
exactly how it's been since James Franklin went to Penn State.
I think that says just about everything that you need to hear about this team. I really do think that when they line up against other teams, they think that they're more talented every time and they should win. There's got to be a culture shift with the process in this program if they want to win big games. And I truly think that they have put so much stock into their holistic team and how skilled they are and how much time they've spent collectively together practicing. They think they should be able to beat anybody just because of that. And you should think that you can win every game you walk onto the field and play an opposing team in. But there's got to be reasons why you go out and win. Penn State just thinks they can run the ball and run power and run stretch and play action and win every game. It's not going to win you football games in 2025. It's just not. So, especially with the quarterback player game from Drew Aller, even if they could scheme open guys to get receivers open and Drew Aller actually make throws, I don't think he's making a lot of them. So, until he gets his mechanics down and they can start scheming up better plays to get the receivers open, I don't see anything changing. So, Oregon, a big winner here. This is a really tough environment for a quarterback. This is his first season at Oregon, really being the starting quarterback anywhere. I mean, coming out party for Dante Moore. He's the leading Heisman candidate right now. I think that there's a real chance that he could win it. If not, I definitely see him being in New York at the end of the year. Big time play from him. He's looking really good. This is about how I expected him to play in this game. So I'm impressed. I think Oregon's going to do some big things this year. They look better and better every week I see them play. Moving on, probably in my opinion, I think this game mattered the most to me out of all of these. I felt like Oregon was going to beat Penn State, but I truly did not know what Alabama and Georgia was going to look like. Just because of Georgia's home winning streak, I felt like they were going to be able to break the Bama curse. So I picked Georgia in a close game. I felt like it was going to be competitive regardless, but I didn't see Alabama scheming open the plays that they had and actually being consistent on offense against the Georgia defense. I just didn't see that happening. And Alabama had their way with Georgia's defense for the first quarter and a half. And pretty much the first half in general, they really did what they wanted to do offensively. They looked like the better team. They got out to the early lead, and they ended up beating Georgia by a field goal. The difference maker in this game was drops. Alabama has a touchdown get dropped by Ryan Williams. They win this game by 10 points, and we're having probably a little bit different of a discussion about a more emphatic road win. Georgia has a touchdown dropped in the fourth quarter. Gunnar Stockton lays it out to number 11. I forget who this player was, but probably good that I'm not putting him on blast because this is a bad drop. Drops a wide open cover beater down the middle, and Georgia would have taken the lead. Absolutely could have won the game on that, but they didn't. So, got to talk about the winner. Alabama played great. I think Caleb DeBoer coached this game incredibly well. This is a huge bounce back for this team. They've got so much down the road that they've got to stay locked in for. This game was a huge hurdle to get over. You win this game, everything's out in front of you, but every week's still a test in the SEC. I think this defines Alabama just a little bit more. Now that they got Jam Miller back, the run game looks a little better. It's still not great. They're going to have to be able to run the ball against Vanderbilt next week if they really want to be emphatically in control of that game. Big injury, though, for Alabama. Quay Russaw is out for the season for Alabama, most likely out for the season at this point. I think he had a foot injury, so that's not good. A top edge rusher for Alabama. They really need him. But I still like Georgia. I still think they have good things to offer offensively, but they were slow in this game. You just got to come away with more points if you want to beat Alabama. 21 points isn't going to cut it. So I thought this game was really, really close on both sides. I don't necessarily feel worse about Georgia, but two really close games against Tennessee and Alabama coming out 1-1 in those games. We're just got to see them down the stretch in SEC play to make more conclusions about them. But Alabama still legit. You can't count them out after that week 1 loss against FSU.
And they just still own Georgia. And it's just every time they play, besides that one natty, just Bama finds a way.
Yeah, and that's how the Ohio State Michigan game's been. I mean, when it feels like Michigan's the worst team and Ohio State's clearly the favorite, Michigan ends up winning the game, whether it's at Ohio State or whether it's in Ann Arbor. They found a way to win. And Alabama's finding a way to beat Georgia right now. Kirby Smart has to be feeling that weight that despite the fact that he's got probably the best program in college football in the Georgia Bulldogs, he can't put his foot down and beat Alabama when he needs to. So I think there's a real chance we see them match up again in the SEC championship, but that would require these teams most likely winning out or only dropping one game apiece and everybody else starting to cannibalize each other. Both of those things very likely could happen, but I would love to see a rematch in this game. I think I would still favor Georgia slightly if they played again, but
I would take Bama. I just have to take Bama.
either way, I think it would be really close. These teams are very even in my eyes. It was a great game. Alabama definitely you got to be a little higher on them after this win. I think it says more about Alabama than Georgia. A lot of people have been throwing Alabama in the dumpster after week 1. You just can't do that. Lessons from last fall would tell you that that would not be a good decision to make, throwing Alabama in the trash. We have seen a resurrection from them offensively via Ty Simpson. No turnovers through 5 weeks. That's really impressive. So I think there's a lot to say about Ty Simpson. We're going to be talking about him a lot towards the end of the season. I bet if he keeps playing like this, he'll be in the Heisman conversation legitimately, like top 3. Right now, I don't think he is, but give it 2 more weeks of this kind of football from him, he'll be up there. So big game there. Alabama comes down on top. Auburn at Texas A&M. I don't think there's really much to be said here other than Auburn's offense was horrible. It was not good. They abandoned the run. They tried to win this game throwing the ball.
Sub 200 yards for Auburn
I mean,
against the A&M defense that has been torched a couple times this year.
I just can't believe they thought they were going to go into this game and win passing the ball when Jackson Arnold is averaging like 130 yards passing a game. That's like below Nick Fitzgerald numbers. Like that's bad. Like I know he's good running the ball, but he got boxed in this game.
I don't know what Hugh Freeze is on.
I don't know either. 10 points is just not going to cut it in the SEC. The fact that they were able to hold A&M to 16, despite the fact that A&M significantly outgained them, I mean, it says a lot about their defense, but I'm still not sold on their defense. I'm
Wasn't
not.
Auburn's one touchdown off a turnover too?
I think it was.
It was like from 2 yards out or something. They just ran it in. I think that was like
They were really
literally.
close to scoring after they got the turnover. So I mean, A&M had their way with Auburn's offense in this game. Pass rush was too much. The sacks were a problem again with Jackson Arnold. They can't protect him. I need to watch something back here. We talked about Auburn last week, and I really, really talked badly about Auburn's offensive line play because it was not good. But a large part of this issue is Jackson Arnold. He holds the ball for forever and expects to have his first read open
We talked
every
about this
time.
kind of stuff in training camp. Hugh
Yep.
Freeze telling the D line to take it easier on him. Like this, the stuff's showing up.
Yep.
15 sacks in 2 weeks.
And we let the overreaction in week 1 to their win against Baylor kind of derail that conversation a
Dave
little bit.
Aranda just called the worst defensive game of the season.
So bad.
Absolutely.
And we know that Baylor's defensive line is not good. Their secondary is not good. Their defense as a whole is not very good. So that game just that's kind of a wash from perspective if you're looking at Auburn's offense. Jackson Arnold has to be better processing these plays. You have to be looking for your second and third read and not be sitting in the pocket for 4 seconds. You just can't do it. And I think he gets through his first read and maybe his second or his check down, and then he's like, oh, should I run? yeah, I'm probably gonna run. I'm gonna run, and then he runs, and it's been 5 seconds, and he's getting sacked. So I'm just not confident in Auburn's offense to really get anything done for the rest of the season. I don't know how many games they're gonna win. They've got a good nucleus on defense to be good. I'm so confused how they're not able to project some sort of offensive output with the guys they have on offense. Their running backs are good. They abandoned the run game. Their receivers are incredible, but they can't get them the ball. So until you can solve that problem, I think it starts with Hugh Freeze and the quarterback. Um, they're not going to get any better offensively. So takeaway for A&M, they were the winner here. I mean, despite the fact that they didn't have a good offensive outing, they showed that they can win in multiple ways. I think that that's going to be something to look at here when we talk about the state game. Is that A&M has showed they can win in a shootout on the road. They show that they can win at home in a slug out. They show that they can take care of business against teams that are not as good as them, but still show to be potent offensively. I mean, UTSA has probably one of the best running backs in the country, and he ran all over A&M, but they still closed out the game the way they should have. So a lot to like about A&M, but I would have loved to have seen more points in this game. Auburn's defense is good, so credit where credit's due.
I think it's crazy that Auburn has played one score games with Oklahoma and A&M back to back weeks on the road with how terrible their offense has been. Like it's a miracle that those games were compared.
Yeah, I mean, as an Auburn fan, would be so frustrated that they can't get anything going offensively because
If they had a pulse on offense, they could be 5-0 right now.
exactly that's what I was about to say. It's like they if they had the quarterback situation figured out and they had a pulse there, they one more touchdown or the penalty against Oklahoma comes back or should have been called thereof, and the play comes back. They could win that game, and they absolutely could beat A&M. So you're looking at a completely different Auburn team if they pull those games out on the road. They're probably what top 8.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be top five with those wins.
Yeah, and they're about to be unranked in every single poll and probably not anywhere close to the top 25. So Hugh Freeze just has to get that position figured out. They've got two other quarterbacks. At this point, I think you got to start exploring some other options. If you cannot throw the ball in the SEC, you will not win games. Period. I think that's enough said. Moving on, Georgia Tech at Wake Forest. I'm really concerned about this outcome for Georgia Tech. I know they won this game, but I really don't think they should have. I think that call, the missed offsides call that cost Wake Forest a possible third down conversion that would have sealed the game.
Well, no, it was only like third and four, so they would have got a first down and then kneeled it out and it would have been over.
Yeah, so for one, they went for the throw and they tried to score a touchdown to end the game. And because they thought they had an offsides, they just threw it up. And nothing happened. The ball was incomplete. So no big deal, right? But there was no flag. The offsides penalty didn't even get called. It was clear offsides on Georgia Tech. They didn't call it. And pass goes incomplete, stops the clock, and Georgia Tech gets stopped here, gets the ball back and scores. I mean, I have a hard time after I was having a conversation with somebody the other day. I was defending the ACC refs because the way that they're reviewing plays now and the way that they're broadcasting it made me feel better about how the ACC officiating crews were handling these games. It was more transparency. I thought that from what I had seen, they were making better calls. The SEC officiating crew is vague. They throw penalty flags like candy on Halloween, just out on the porch. Like it's terrible.
They would
It's
never
absolutely
show the
terrible.
replay booth or anything. Never.
Never, never. Greg Sankey would die on a hill before he let that happen. There were over 20 penalties in the Ole Miss LSU game for both teams. Over 20. It was horrible. Ole Miss, despite the fact that they had 100 penalty yards, won this game, but they absolutely could have lost because of the penalties. And some of them were obvious, and they didn't get called. Some of them were terrible calls, and they got called anyway. Some of them were obvious no calls, and or obvious calls that they should have made, and there was a no call. Like we had one play. I remember that there was a penalty call that was just horrible. Aaron Anderson on 3rd and 5 ran an out route exactly on the sticks, and he's probably going to be slightly open here, but our DB plays it really well. Maybe a hand on the waist, but it didn't look like he was wrapping or grabbing. He reaches and swats, and immediately they throw a flag. They talk about it for like 15 seconds, and they call pass interference. And it extends LSU's drive. I don't really remember exactly what happened there because I felt like LSU wasn't doing anything offensively the whole game. But they would have stalled out, and it would have been 3 and out again. And it wasn't because they made another play that extended another third down for LSU. It felt like that was the whole game. Whether Ole Miss started a drive and they put us in 1st and 20, or LSU was on 3rd down and they got a conversion via penalty. That was the whole game. And there's no transparency there. So I was really upset with the officiating there. And there were several other SEC games this year that have been really bad, Oklahoma Auburn being one of them. But I was talking about how the ACC refs were better. This game proved that they are not. Despite the transparency, they still suck. And you know what? When the press conferences roll around, Wake Forest head coach cannot say a thing about it because he'll get fined. And that's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. They lose this game because of the referees. Sure, you can say, oh, they should have won the game making other plays. This game was stolen from them. It got stolen.
100%.
And I think that's ridiculous. As much as I wanted Georgia Tech to win this game and I picked them to make the playoffs, they should have lost. They should have lost outright to Wake Forest here. Should have been a big win for them. And I'm worried about Georgia Tech. I know they won this game. They found a way to win. All credit to them. But Wake Forest is definitely not on the same talent level as Georgia Tech. And they made this game close and should have won. So gonna have to be watching for some other giant killers to take them down later in the season, even next week probably if they're not on bye. But this game was tough to watch for Georgia Tech. They had to claw back into this one. They were down bad early, and they clawed back in, and the refs let them have a win.
Didn't they
So
get it was 17 to nothing Wake at one point.
yeah, I think it was like 20-3 too, and like
Yeah.
it was. They had a 17-point lead there for a while, and somehow Georgia Tech wins this game. I haven't gotten to watch a lot of film on this, but when they got the opportunity, they scored. So they've showed some composure and they've showed clutch ability, but via the referees giving them the opportunity, I hate to see. So moving on to the next game, we missed on this one. USC at Illinois. I feel like this will be relatively close, but I thought USC was the better team and I thought they would win. Defense didn't show up. Same conversation we had on the pod the other day. When's it going to happen? When is Lincoln Riley going to have a well coached defense that can actually make his team be competitive in huge games? And this was a huge game. We're expected to win this game. I know it was Big Noon kickoff, but they'd already slated that before Illinois had gotten blown out by Indiana. So they had to make it Big 12 or Big Noon. So yeah, it had some stakes and it was highly televised, but Illinois probably was definitely not the betting favorite in this game.
No, they were a touchdown underdog, even with it being at home.
Yeah, I need to see a scenario where Illinois put up the points they put up after how badly they played offensively against Indiana last week. But testament to Indiana and another testament to Illinois, the fact that they were able to battle back and get a ranked win. I mean, I don't think there's a lot of teams out there right now that would get blown out by 53 against a in conference opponent, turn right back around and win a conference rate game. It just doesn't happen. So Luke Allmeyer played really well in this game. I liked what I saw from him. Jaden Miava played really well for USC. Um, I'm not taking any credit away from him. He played incredible. Makai Lemon is a stud. People who don't know who Makai Lemon is need to watch this film. He's probably one of the best receivers in college football right now. He's a stud. So more people need to hear his name. Honestly, I'm surprised it's not getting thrown around in the Heisman discussion. Maybe his stats aren't good enough, but I think he might be leading the nation in receiving. So maybe I need to take that back. But with that being said, he should have a conversation in the Heisman despite the fact that they have a loss right now. So he's incredible. USC's offense is really good and well rounded. They shouldn't have lost this game. I really think they should have won if they had a defense, but that's on Lincoln Riley to get the staff needed and to get the recruits necessary to field a full team and not just an offense. We've seen that from him time and time again now. Oklahoma and USC, it's a trend at this point. But yeah, I think we both missed on this one slightly. We picked USC by probably a touchdown to in between a touchdown and a field goal. Illinois gets the win, back on track to have a chance to still be relevant. So good for the Fighting Illini. Really interesting game. Notre Dame at Arkansas. I'm going to be brief on this. Sam Pittman just got fired because of how badly this game ended, but not just because of that, because they've struggled to just win football games in general. It's been coming for a while. Last season wasn't great. This season was not going to end well. I don't think it's a Sam Pittman problem necessarily. I think his style of coaching is just not going to work in Arkansas, but Arkansas is a tough job. When it was the SEC West, it was a tough job. Now that there's been conference realignment and there's no East West divisions, it's still really tough. We found out that despite the fact that the West was harder to play than the East, the conference scheduling is brutal.
Well, just throwing in Texas and Oklahoma, and there's two great teams added to the schedule. It just makes it even that little bit harder.
Yeah, and I mean they Arkansas pulled some talent out of nowhere on this team and had a chance in the first two games that they lost. fumbled them away, unfortunately. This team is competitive. But I think they lost all the juice and then had to play Notre Dame, who had to have a win here, emphatically have a win. Marcus Freeman was not letting off the gas in this game. They went for a fake punt in this game up like 4 touchdowns. If that doesn't tell you how badly Notre Dame wanted to blow out Arkansas, I don't know what does. So Notre Dame had blood on their mind in this game. They go into Fayetteville and absolutely trounce Arkansas. Taylor Green, I thought, started off okay and looked decent. I thought they were going to score points. I knew they were going to lose after the start I saw from Notre Dame's offense, but surely they would have scored points. But they just couldn't make it happen. They got too behind in this one. It just got away from them really fast. Notre Dame is really good. I know they lost 2 games, but both those games could have gone their way, and they'd be probably top 3 right now if they did. So having the same conversation about Notre Dame that we did about Auburn a minute ago, but I feel way better about Notre Dame than I do Auburn.
Oh, for sure. I mean, just the offense for Notre Dame has looked so incredible. If the defense can improve, like, this team could be really scary down the stretch.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to play Notre Dame out of conference. I think that would be a really bad game to schedule. I don't like that. So credit to A&M for winning that game, despite the fact that it took them a 4th-and-goal heave to win it. They still won in South Bend. But tough game for Arkansas. Sad to see Sam Pittman go, just like Mike Gundy. I liked Sam Pittman. He's been there for a couple of years. He's had some signature wins, and he had a 9-4 season, but Arkansas is just such a hard place to win at. And I look at it kind of like how I look at the Vanderbilt job. It takes a guy like Clark Lee to come into Vanderbilt and change the entire culture. You need a guy like that to come into Arkansas. I think John Summerall's the guy. I think you shoot for John Summerall to be the coach at Arkansas as soon as possible. I love that guy. I think he could change the culture there. I think that he could recruit, and having an actual NIL budget better than he did at Tulane would probably help him a lot. So we'd love to see what he can do in the SEC. Like Lane Kiffin said, I have a very hard time seeing him not being in the SEC within the next year or two. So last game in our recap, Cincinnati at Kansas. I bet on this game. It cashed out. I put money on the Bearcats against Kansas here, and they did not disappoint. Brendan Sorsby threw the rock all over the place in Kansas, and despite the fact that Jalen Daniels had one of his best games of his career in this game, it wasn't enough. Emmanuel Henderson broke out onto the scene for Kansas. Transfer wide receiver from Alabama goes for over 200. Still wasn't enough. Brendan Sorsby and Cincinnati make a statement win. Are they 3-1 or 4-1 right now?
I think it's 3-1, but I could double check that real fast.
They had the close loss at Nebraska, which I thought they played decent in. Just couldn't get anything going offensively, but they've looked better each week that's gone by to me.
They're 3-1. Yeah.
So big game coming up for them against Iowa State, which we're about to get to, but I like what I'm seeing from them. I was definitely sleeping on them at the beginning of the season. I think I picked them to go like 5-7 or 6-6. I just didn't know what I was going to see from the offense, but they've gotten better.
Favorable schedule too. I mean, watch out.
Yeah, I think we looked at their schedule earlier. There's a scenario if they win this game where they could end up being 8-1 towards the end of the season and being in contention for the Big 12 title because they have no conference losses right now.
You heard that here first. If
Yeah.
it happens.
Crazy take if that were to turn out. I'm not betting on that. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but we will be having this conversation if they beat Iowa State next week for sure. So, incredible game. It was a shootout. Cincinnati comes out on top. Very fun game to watch. I recommend giving it a look, at least watching the highlights because it was crazy. All right, so moving on to our top 25s, we have introduced a new segment, and we're actually going to talk about them on the podcast. We've been posting them on the Instagram story, which we haven't really made a plug for our Instagram. We do have an Instagram. You should go follow it. We also have a YouTube channel, so it's not just our Spotify. Please go give us a follow. We'd appreciate it. I don't like begging for followers, but we never plug it, so I'm going to do that. You can see our top 25 rankings posted there because we don't have any way to post it on Spotify. So if you want to actually go look at them, that's where they'll be. I'm going to go ahead and run through mine really quickly, and I'm going to have a couple teams I'm going to point out that maybe you can be high risers or high followers in the coming weeks. So number one, I've got Ohio State. They've been my number one for the entire season. That hasn't changed. Oregon is my number two. They have moved up. They were, I think, probably number 7 or 8 for me in the beginning of the season, but they've moved up at least one spot every single week until they made it to 2 and have not moved since. They beat Penn State. I didn't move them. I still like them at 2. Miami at 3. They've looked massively more impressive than I thought they would be. So they moved up a lot for me. I don't remember where I had them at the start of the season, but I think they've moved up at least 10 spots in my ranking. If not, I think it was around that. So I got Oklahoma at 4 right now. And I know John Mateer's hurt, but I think this team has enough talent on defense, even with Michael Hawkins in at quarterback. I think they hold on in the Red River rivalry with Michael Hawkins as the quarterback. I think they would win that game. With John Mateer, I feel pretty good about them winning that game anyway. So I'm going to hold them at 4 until they prove me otherwise. I have Ole Miss at number 5, and I say that unoptimistically because I don't think we're going to be hanging out here very long because we may have a bye week in Washington State coming up, so that's kind of a coast here in the top 5 for me. But by the time we play Oklahoma and Georgia, I think we lose at least one of those two games, both on the road, both against really good teams. I just don't think Ole Miss wins both those games. If we do, we should probably be number 2 or 3 at least. So doubt we are able to do that. We'll be hanging around at 5, probably a little too high. So I could see Ole Miss being a big faller in the next coming weeks as we start playing a really tough road schedule. Texas A&M number 6. This is just a team that I mean they're bound to disappoint at some point. We see the 8-4 teams just left and right with Texas A&M. I don't see there being a huge jump up for this team as opposed to past A&M teams. They've got a cohesive team with a lot of talent, and they've been winning games. Mississippi State's going to give them a challenge this week. We'll get to that game in a second, but I think they could be a follower here in the next couple of weeks as well. Indiana looks really good. I'm impressed. I've got them at number 7. I think they'll win in Penn State, which solidify them as the top 10 team for the rest of the season when they play Penn State. I've got Alabama at 8, Georgia at 9, and Tennessee at 10 in the order of the teams that beat each other. Alabama beat Georgia, UJ beat Tennessee. Bama and Tennessee play very soon, so we'll see how that matchup ends. But I like those teams in that order right now. I would probably favor Alabama against Tennessee slightly, but should be a really good game when they play each other. Penn State at 11. I'm not putting this team top 10 until they win a real game. I'm just not going to do it. So I've got them at number 11, probably still a little high. Texas at 12. They haven't changed to me since the first game. Until I see them win a real game, I'm not going to move them up necessarily. And if they lose, I'm going to move them down. So possible fall for them imminent if they lose a game they shouldn't. Texas Tech at 13. I think they're a little low right now. I think they end up moving up for me if they keep winning. Big game on the road at Houston this week. So could be a really nice win for them if they can confidently go into Houston and win this game. Missouri at 14, probably the most consistent team to me in the top 25 in all phases of the game. Maybe outside of defensive line play, I think Missouri looks really good. And I say that offensive line play has been spotty for them, but they have one of the most balanced offenses in college football. I'm higher on them now than I was at the beginning of the season by a long stretch, but I'm not going to get too high on this team. I think there's a ceiling for them, probably around 10. So if they keep winning, I'm going to move them up. But I think there's games on the schedule that they can't win. So got them at 14 for now. Vanderbilt at 15. Things could change after this week, depending on how they play against Alabama. Things could change. Even if they lose this game, if it's close, I'm not moving them down. I will not be moving them down if this game is close. I've got FSU at 16. I know it was a big drop. I think I had them at 8 or 9, maybe. That's a big drop for a road loss on a Friday night. That's a weird game against their high-powered offense. You can't win them all with college football today. We've said that already. Virginia just matched up really well against Florida State, and Florida State's defense just was not on their A game on Friday. So had to drop them down a little bit. I got LSU at 17. They're going to move up, I think. Their schedule's tough. They've got some tough games. They will have to play offense. I think they'll find something at some point, but until they can, I'm not going to be confident that they can win any SEC game with the offense they're playing. So I've got them at 17 for now. They can move up, but their defense is really solid. I think that will give them a chance in every game they play. I've got Notre Dame at 18 despite the 2 losses early. This team probably will win out. If they don't win out, then they definitely won't make the playoffs, but I think there's a real chance this team will win out. Boise State this week, real opportunity to make an emphatic win and blow out Boise State. I definitely see that being a possibility. So be looking for that game to be not very close. Iowa State at number 19. I feel like this is a very common team people have way too high right now. I like Iowa State. I like Rocco Beck. I had him as one of my top quarterbacks in the Big 12 coming into the season, but this team just does not show me anything that makes me think that they're worthy of a top 15 spot. They haven't won a big game. Kansas State's probably one of their biggest wins in Ireland, and Kansas State's not very good. Actually, I take that back. Arizona's probably their best win. Iowa's not a great football team. Their defense is tough, but they're not a great football team. Arizona is probably a more well-rounded football team than Iowa. I think that Iowa would beat Arizona, but going and playing Arizona at home was probably a little more taxing defensively because Arizona actually has an offense. So I would think that win was slightly more impressive because they actually put them away and dominated them. That was my dog last week, Arizona against Iowa State. They did not make this game close. So I hopefully we'll break that streak. I think I've lost every single one of my Call the Dogs picks so far. That has been my worst segment as far as picks go, which is really funny because we've picked so many good upsets this year. But Iowa State at 19, they'll probably be around that area for me unless they win a huge game coming up. They got Cincinnati. That would move them up for me a couple spots if they win that game emphatically. Georgia Tech at 20, I dropped them after Cincinnati. Not Cincinnati. I dropped them after the Wake Forest debacle. I thought they probably should have lost this game, so I moved them down. I still like the fact that they were able to find a way to win when they got the opportunity, so I didn't move them down too far. I think it was like 3 or 4 spots, but they're gonna have to prove it to me against real teams. I know Clemson was a good win and all, but Clemson's not that great. So they're gonna have some bigger games this year that they're gonna have to prove to me that they can actually be competitive in those games and win them. I got Michigan at 21. I still like Michigan. They're solid. I think they'll move up as the season progresses. Memphis at 22 probably won't hang around there too long. They've got an easy schedule, but I think they play USF at some points in the next couple of weeks. I think USF's probably going to win that game, and I'll probably move USF up and Memphis down. For right now, Memphis is undefeated and has a key win over Arkansas. So I've got them at 22. Mississippi State at 23. I really like Mississippi State. I moved them up this week even after a loss. Tennessee's a great football team. They had to have 2 defensive touchdowns in Starkville to win this game. So I think Mississippi State deserves to be ranked right now. I know they're 4-1, but the fact that Notre Dame is 2-2 and they're getting ranked, and you got teams like BYU who have played absolutely nobody and they're getting ranked. Virginia, I know they beat Florida State, but I think that Mississippi State's winning against Arizona State is just as impressive, and they're not getting credit for it yet. So I'm giving them credit. I got them at 23. If they can keep winning football games they're not supposed to win, like against Texas A&M this weekend, they'll keep climbing. So got USF at 24. I think they'll move up if they can beat Memphis in the upcoming weeks. I got Utah at 25. I know they lost in a somewhat of a blowout to Texas Tech, if you want to call it that. This game was close for 3 quarters. Backup quarterback comes in and runs the offense to perfection and puts away Utah at home. Texas Tech's an incredibly well-rounded football team. They're really solid. They'll probably end up winning the Big 12 championship if I had to put money on it. So Utah losing a what was for 3 quarters a very tight game to Texas Tech does not make me feel bad about them. They are very efficient when they do not play poorly on offense against really good defenses. So the team that they're supposed to be able to move the ball against, they're very efficient. So if there's weaknesses on your defense and Utah's playing you, Devin Dampier is going to play an efficient football game, and he's going to pose a threat running the ball and throwing the ball. I love Utah. I think they've got one of the best offensive lines in college football. I think their run game is very strong. Pass game's looking better. Defense is solid. They've got a really good edge rusher over there. He's got several sacks. He was leading the nation in sacks at one point this year. I've got them at 25. I think 25 is probably one of the hardest spots to rank on this poll because there's just so many teams I could put here. But for right now, I'm going to stick with Utah. That'll probably change, but I've got them there for right now. So, Landon, what you got?
All right, I'm actually going to start mine from 25 and go up and go pretty quick here. I also have Utah number 25. Obviously, the tough loss to Texas Tech, but they've played pretty sharp in their other games. I have BYU at 24. They really haven't been challenged too much yet, but they've taken care of business. TCU at 23. The tough loss to Arizona State, but outside of that, they've looked pretty good. Arizona State at 22. Good win over TCU last week. Solid win over Baylor. Tough loss to Mississippi State, who I have at 21. With the good win over Arizona State. Um, Hard fought game, loss against Tennessee. Talked about that. They look solid in all the other games. Iowa State at number 20. They haven't played a great team yet, but they've taken care of business, and there's something to be said about that. So number 20 for them. Number 19, Florida State, coming off the heartbreaking loss to Virginia, but still have the great one over Bama. Number 18, Michigan. They had the one loss to Oklahoma, but they've looked sharp in other games besides that. Good win at Nebraska. LSU at number 17, the tough loss on the road to Ole Miss. Outside of that game, they really don't have a lot of great stuff on their resume, but they do have a solid defense. I still believe this team could be solid. Number 16 of Notre Dame played two of the better teams in the nation in the first 2 weeks of the year, lost both of them, but they've looked really good in the last 2 weeks. Number 15, Missouri. They have decent wins over Kansas and South Carolina, but nothing crazy there, but they have taken care of business. Number 14, Vanderbilt. They went on the road and dominated South Carolina for a decent win there, taking care of business in their other games. So, number 14. Number 13, Texas. Tough loss to Ohio State in week one. They have played absolutely nobody since then. Had a bye week last week, I'm pretty sure. But they will be challenged again here pretty soon. Number 12, Penn State. Three cupcakes to start off the year. And then tough overtime loss to Oregon where they were dominated for a good portion of that game. But I couldn't justify having them any higher with just zero resume. Number 11, Tennessee. Great road win at Mississippi State. Really tough home loss to Georgia, where if they make a field goal in that game, they're probably like top 5 or 6 right now. And then right in front of them, Georgia, who beat them. Just lost at home to Bama, but looked solid in all their other games besides that one. And then at number 9, Alabama. They have the weird loss on the road at FSU, but winning at Georgia is such a feat. Nobody's done that in 5 years, so I feel like nine's a good spot for them. Ole Miss at number 8. Great home win against LSU. They've looked solid throughout the course of this year, taking care of business. Texas Tech at number 7. Absolutely terrific win on the road at Utah by 24 there, with Hammond coming in and playing some great football to steal that game for them. I feel like 7's a good spot with the way that they've looked so far. Indiana at number 6. Absolutely great win. Blowout by 53 against Illinois. And that aged really well this past week with Illinois picking up a good win against USC. So I feel like this is a team that deserves to be ranked this high at the moment. Number 5, Texas A&M. They own one of the better ones of the year on the road at Notre Dame, and they've taken care of business in their other games. So I like them at 5 for now. Oklahoma at number 4. Two huge wins against Michigan and what was the other huge one they had?
They beat Auburn, right?
Where's the,
In Auburn.
no, that was at home. I feel like there was another game that they won that was big.
I don't think so. I think it's just
Maybe
Michigan
it's
and
just
Auburn,
Michigan.
which is two really solid wins in my
Just two
opinion.
solid wins. That might be a little bit too high on Oklahoma, but I trust in them with Mateer, especially if he comes back and plays well after the surgery. Number 3, Miami. Great win against Notre Dame. They've taken care of business well in the other games. Really impressive, dominant win against USF. Taking care of business against Florida. Number 2, Oregon. One of the best ones of the season. They just got this past week against Penn State. Um, and in all their other games, they were just completely dominant. This looks like a really good football team. And then number 1, the defending national champions, Ohio State. Great win against Texas in week 1. Really good win out Washington this past week.
Yeah, and I think that there's something to be said between the difference in these top 25s and the AP poll. We're going to talk about the AP poll for the rest of the season until we get to the college football playoff poll. There's not much of a difference in my eyes between those two, but just take a moment if you actually care to look at our top 25s and then switch over to you can go to on three. I think they have the AP poll posted on there. So if you're on Instagram, you're ever looking at these, just compare the two. Just see the differences. See the teams that they move up and down 15 spots every week. Like the AP poll will take teams that have no business being ranked and rank them, and then they'll disappear when they lose, just like they were never there. And they'll take teams that win no games and put them in the top 15 or the
Penn
top
State's still
10.
number 7, I'm pretty sure. Like, it's just
Ridiculous.
a joke.
Absolutely ridiculous. And so, I, one of the things I think is kind
Penn
of
State's
crazy.
above Indiana right now.
That's so stupid. Ole Miss being number 4 in the AP poll scares me because the fact that I even have them at 5, I feel like is too high. We're a placeholder there for the next 2 weeks. We will move down. If we don't move down, we probably are winning the national championship, and we all know that's not going to happen. So, with that being said, there's so many differences between what we've got in the AP poll. I think it's called logic, and I also think it's called ball knowledge because we actually watch games. I don't think these people watch games. So enough said about the AP poll. There's big differences between what we've got and what they've got, and I think there's a reason for that. So some people should have votes on that poll. Some people definitely shouldn't. That's going to end our top 25. All right, and now for our favorite segment, Call the Dogs, which we have been absolutely abysmal in, which
Winless so far, correct?
I think we're both winless, and
Oh.
we're willing to acknowledge that. That's okay. Um, Again, this is more of betting advice than it is us thinking like, oh, like this is definitely gonna happen. Like it's just
So far, the betting advice or the best advice for betting this has been to fade it.
yeah.
How we've done.
What you should probably do if you want to bet is fade or call the dogs picks, and then whenever we actually go over our predictions for the week or the games that we're going to, you should probably just bet on the games that we go to because we're undefeated. So fade our picks on call the dogs, and then bet on the games that we're going to if they're upset picks. So gonna go ahead and move down to that because I just hit return on my computer. All right. So I had Louisville versus Virginia as my dog of the week. I think the line was -6.5 in favor of Louisville. I know this is a spot where Virginia is gonna burn me. I know I know it's gonna happen. But the line was just too good. Chandler Morris was telling me. I'm pretty sure he called me earlier and said, Wilkes, this line is ridiculous. I'm gonna throw for 300 yards on Louisville. Yes, I'm probably gonna throw 2 interceptions, but you should absolutely bet on this game. So I really want to. I don't know if I will, but Miller Moss has been turning over the ball, and they've looked really inconsistent too. So I think these teams are very even in my eyes, but the line is just way too good for me not to feel like Virginia can win this game outright. So I'm taking Virginia as my only dog of the week. There's not a lot of lines this week that really stood out to me, but this one was way too big.
All right, so I have Kansas State. They are a 6.5 point dog at Baylor. Baylor's defense is just so awful. And I mean, they let Jackson Arnold run all over them. Avery Johnson is a better runner than Jackson Arnold. So if they have a similar game plan for this, they're going to get torched. I feel like the loss that they had to Arizona State could potentially be a crushing loss for this team. And if they're not ready for this game, they could definitely lose. Kansas State played pretty well and win, 2 touchdown win against UCF last week. I don't have a ton of confidence in this because I don't think Kansas State is very good, but just with how bad Baylor's defense is, this is definitely one to watch out for. And then FSU is 4.5 point dogs at home to Miami. This is a huge rivalry game, massive game for Florida State, especially after their loss last week. I feel good about them. I feel good about their chances of bouncing back this week. I think this is a little big. I would feel confident to take them to cover this, maybe lose by a field goal, but I like it enough outright with their chances to put it on here as an outright upset.
Yeah, I think we split on that one. I'm going to get to that one in a second on the week 5 predictions, but that one's going to be interesting. That will tell us everything we need to know about the ACC title race. Those two teams are the most pivotal teams in this race right now. Clemson's out. Georgia Tech looks fraudulent. These two teams look like the front runners to me. SMU's out probably. So I think this is a make or break game for FSU. They got to win this game. They really got to win this game after losing to Virginia in conference. So looking forward to that. Moving on to our week 5 predictions, we've got Iowa State at Cincinnati. I have Cincinnati winning this game, 37-31. And I know I faded Iowa State last week and thought that they would lose to Arizona, but I feel like Cincinnati's got some real firepower right now with Brendan Sorsby in that offense. I like the transfers they got. I like what they're doing. Ever since the Nebraska game, they've gotten better and better on offense, and it's showing. I don't think their defense is great. I think Iowa State's going to score points on them, but it's at Cincinnati. It's a pivotal game this season for them. Iowa State hasn't beaten anybody good yet, so I like the Bearcats. So I've got them winning 37-31.
I also like the Bearcats in this game. If they're able to beat Iowa State, their schedule sets up so good after this. They play Oklahoma State. They get UCF at home.
Oh, it's terrible.
They get to host Baylor. There's another one in there that is easier too that I can't remember right now, but they could be on a fast track to be 8-1 with the win here.
That would be nuts.
And we don't really know how good Iowa State is. They haven't played anybody great. I remember, I've been forgetting about this actually. The really close game they had on the road at Arkansas State. I'm pretty sure that's their only road game this year.
It was like 24 to
Yeah.
16 or
So
something.
they've bad on the road in their road game. So this is one to watch out for. I like Cincinnati here to get a huge win. This is one of their biggest home games in several years, and I think they get it.
Yeah, I think the line on this game is actually pretty close. Vegas is
Cincinnati's
all over
favored
this.
by a point and a half.
Yeah, there's a reason for that. Absolutely. Moving on to Texas at Florida. So Texas is going to the swamp. Arch Manning's first really, really big road test other than Ohio State in the SEC. So I think this will be tough for Texas on offense. I have them winning 27 to 23. I bet they find a defensive touchdown in here or a special teams touchdown. Slow offense from Texas to get started. I would think that will probably be how this game plays. I definitely would take the under on this game from where I've got it at. I think I had the total being 50 in my score. I don't know what the actual over under is for this game, but I bet this game will probably be on the under. So I think Florida's got to have some sort of fire in this game. DJ Lagway's claiming that they're gonna start popping off at some point on offense. I don't trust anything he says right now, but at some point, I really do believe that this team has enough talent to do something. There's gonna be a schematical advantage they find, or they're gonna have a good week of practice and they're going to score on somebody. I don't know that it's going to be Texas, but I think it'll be close. I think Arch Manning's going to struggle in this game. If he does not struggle, I think that says a lot about him and his progression this season. But I've got Texas winning this game 27 to 23.
I've got Texas beating Florida 24 to 13. Just I don't see Florida's offense being able to do hardly anything against this Texas defense. I don't see a world where that happens. Florida's defense is solid though, and Texas's offense has looked sketchy, but I think they were able to grind out 24 points and win this game.
Yeah, I bet there will be a special teams play or defensive play from Texas that separates this game, if I had to guess. I don't really love my score prediction, but I'm kind of on the fence between it being high scoring, like high 20s game, or like a really low scoring, like teens and low 20s game. So I kind of went with the median there. Next game that I'm really excited about. I cannot wait to watch this game. Vanderbilt at Alabama. We all know what the implications of this game are. It's a ranked matchup for the first time in I don't even know how long. At Alabama, Vanderbilt won at home against Alabama last year, so they're going into Tuscaloosa. Alabama's got revenge on their minds. This game is huge. I never would have thought in a million years I would think the Alabama Vanderbilt game would be a huge game, but it is right now. Great times that we're living in, that this is a big game. However, I have Alabama winning this game 31-21. That does not change my opinion of Vanderbilt if they lose this game, unless it's a blowout. But Vanderbilt's been taking care of business. Their offense is looking much better than last year. So they absolutely could score 30 or 40 points in this game. That would not surprise me. But I don't know that they'll be able to go into Bryant Denny and have an offensive outing like that. So Ty Simpson, if he can keep the ball safe like he's been doing and not turn the ball over and just run the offense seamlessly like he has been, they should win. Plain and simple. I don't think Diego Pavia is going to be playing on defense. So unless something crazy happens for Vanderbilt defensively, I like Alabama in this game, but who knows what could happen. There's a lot at stake here, but I think Alabama gets the revenge game.
I just can't see Vanderbilt going into Tuscaloosa and winning. And crazier things have happened. Maybe somehow they pull it off again, but I like Bama in this one 45 to 31. Vanderbilt's defense has looked a little sketchy at times, so that's something to watch out for here. But yeah,
That game should be really fun. I plan on tuning in for the whole game. Should be great. The next game, Virginia at Louisville. I already picked this game just saying I was going to take Virginia outright, but my score is going to be 35 to 27 in favor of Virginia. I think the turnovers are going to be crucial in this game. Miller Moss will have some turnovers, and I'm sure Chandler Morris will as well. But Virginia can run the ball better. I think they're going to go into Louisville and get this win.
I like Louisville to win this game. I just don't think Virginia has enough on defense, and especially with it being at Louisville, I like them to win this one 38-31 shootout game. If you watched Louisville versus Miami last year, that game was an absolute shootout. I think this game could be similar to that, except with Louisville coming out on top. So I like them 38-31.
That was an underrated game from last year. Very good game. I don't know how Miami did they win that game?
They did.
I don't know how they won that game.
It's like 452-45 or something.
It was
I think
ridiculous.
this could be similar.
I thought they were going to lose that game. They somehow pulled it out. All right, next game we got Washington at Maryland. So Maryland is somehow undefeated right now. I don't know how. Apparently,
Well, it's
Malik
because their
Washington.
big win is Wisconsin right now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
terrible
that tells
game.
you everything you need
I
to know.
saw the line on that game. I think Wisconsin was favored by like what, like
They were favored
14?
by like 10, and it was at Maryland,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
I bet on
Oh,
that game, and Maryland cashed out for me. Big win there. Malik Washington's been really good at quarterback for them, but I just don't know that this Terrapins team is going to be able to get it done at home against Washington. I mean, Washington's got so many weapons on offense. They honestly played a decent game against Ohio State despite losing at home last week. Ohio State is infinitely better than Maryland, and if Washington comes away with a touchdown or two in the red zone, that game's completely different. So I think this team has way more talent than Maryland, and although it could be close early, I think Washington pulls away. I got them winning 38-17.
Maryland is just a complete faker. And it's not their fault their schedule's been so easy, and Wisconsin is like legit a bottom two team in the Big Ten. But I mean, this is a team that's 4-0 right now that I could see missing a bowl game. Washington's vastly better, and I think they win this one 38-21. Even with it being on the road and a weird travel game, I still like them by 3 possessions.
Yeah, and there's always that chance that Washington really isn't that great, but I have a high confidence that they'll probably be able to pull this out. Maryland does feel like a faker to me. I just don't think they got the talent. So, moving on to a team that acquired a ton of talent in the transfer portal in Texas Tech. They are going to travel to Houston, who is undefeated, surprisingly. So, two teams that are undefeated that I was kind of sleeping on this year, Houston and Maryland. But Texas Tech has Houston this week, and I just think Texas Tech has way too much talent. I think Connor Wigman's about to get boxed in this game. They try to have this option run offense look, and it's great and all. It worked against Colorado, but it's not going to work against Texas Tech's defense. Those linebackers are ball hawks, and those defenders on the edge for Texas Tech are going to get after the quarterback. It's going to be a long night for Connor Wigman and Houston. I've got this game only being 34-21, but blowout very possible in this game. So I got Texas Tech.
I just don't see Houston's offense being able to keep up. They do have a solid defense, but I think Texas Tech just too much. Houston's offense never really gets off the ground. I like Tech to win this one 31-14.
Yeah, I see a scenario where Texas Tech has a tough outing offensively. Houston's defense has been known to give Big 12 teams a very tough time schematically. So there could be a scenario where they play this game close just because of defense, but I don't think they'll be able to hold on for that long. Next game, Miami at FSU. You've already picked FSU outright, but I think I'm going to take Miami. I think it'll be close. It's at FSU. This will be a huge game. The fans are going to show up for this. Is this a night game?
Yes, 6:30 ABC or
That's
something.
going to be a great game. I know it's college game day, so that'll be interesting. They didn't go to Vanderbilt, Alabama. They went to this game, which is another. I think it's probably worth it to go to this game, but Vanderbilt, Bama would have been awesome.
No, game day did go to Vanderbilt, Bama.
They did. Are
Yeah,
you sure?
I'm 100% sure. Yeah.
I want to double check that. I feel like I just saw that they're going to be in
No,
Tallahassee.
it's at Bama Vanderbilt. I
All right.
promise.
I trust you. I'll check it after the pod, but I think this game's going to be really good regardless. I think Carson Beck is going to be able to find a way to score points in this game. I think Ruben Bain's going to have a really great game, but they're going to have a tough time containing Castellanos. That's a test they haven't had yet. Is a really mobile quarterback. I mean, I guess you could say that CJ Carr was mobile, but he doesn't compare to Castellanos. So that'll give them fits if they can't contain him. But Ruben Bain's a freak. I think he'll have a good game. Running the ball, Miami can run it. They can throw it well. Florida State kind of profiles similarly to where they can kind of do both. So I think that both teams have a decent offensive game plan and score some points. So 31-28 is my score. I just think Miami's going to find that one big play or that one special teams play, whatever the turning factor is in the game, whether it's an interception late, whatever gets them to that point in the end where they feel like they're in control in the fourth quarter, I think they take that one possession lead and win the game.
So I've already talked about this game in the Call the Dogs segment. So I'll just give my score. I have Florida State 28-27.
Yeah, this game should be good. Big implications for the ACC title. I think these are the two leaders right now. FSU with a conference loss, though, they need this win badly. So we'll have a big conversation next week if they lose this game on maybe who's going to meet Miami in um, the conference championship game for ACC. The last game, Mississippi State at Texas A&M. So I'm going to go on a limb here. I've been a big Mississippi State believer this year. At some point, it's going to run out. I'm currently 5-0 on the picks I have for Mississippi State this year. My intuition tells me that the number 5 team in the country in Texas A&M should probably win this game at home against Mississippi State. Probably should win if they're favored by 14 and a half, right? But typically, A&M's had a tough time with Mississippi State in the past. This is not a game that they always win. So if this is an A&M team that we're used to seeing where expectations are probably too high, they're overrated, this is a trap game for them. 100% it's a trap game. This is a prove it game to me. If A&M wins this game, I think they maybe aren't legit, but they're proving that they're not the teams of old that are probably going to go 8-4 and drop games they're not supposed to win. I'm going to take Mississippi State to win 28-24. And I've already bet on this game because the odds are ridiculous. Um, I like the Bulldogs. I think they come up with some key turnovers in this game. Marshall Reed is one of the most inaccurate quarterbacks in college football right now. There's a current rating out there for inaccurate pass percentage. He's in the bottom like 20 quarterbacks in the country in accuracy percentage. And it's not completion percentage, it's accuracy on throws. So he may hit some really explosive plays to Mario Craver and Concepcion, but he is struggling to be accurate outside of that. And a lot of that's leading to interceptions and possible turnover worthy plays. So I think Mississippi State capitalizes on some of that. They're going to deal with pressure from A&M, and they're going to have to hold up on the offensive line if they want to win this game, and they're going to have to run the ball. A&M had a decent outing against Auburn running the ball last week, but they had to stay committed. They didn't play well offensively against Auburn, but they had to stay committed to the running. They did. I think Le'Veon Moss had over 120 yards rushing in that game. Best game of the year so far for him, from what I remember. I think they'll have to have a big game on the ground to beat Mississippi State. I don't think they're going to be able to drop back and throw 80-yard touchdowns to Mario Craver the whole game. They're going to try to make him a focal point, but inaccuracy from A&M's quarterback Marcel Reed will be a definite game line stat to look at after this. And then if Mississippi State can be consistent, find some big plays and run the ball. But I'm going to take State by 4.
I'm unfortunately going to take A&M here. It's going to be really tough going down there and playing on the road. This is really State's first real road game this year. I know they played at Southern Miss in week 1, but that was basically a home game. There's probably more State fans there than Southern Miss fans. State did play good on the road last year, despite how bad they were. They played pretty competitive against Texas. Only lost to Georgia by 10 and put up 31 points, but maybe that was just because those teams were really sleepwalking coming into those games. I'm not sure that A&M is going to be sleepwalking coming into this one. I really hope State's able to pull this off. It would not surprise me, given we've kind of had A&M's numbers sometimes over the past few years. But I think this is a really good team in A&M. I believe in them. I think State's a really good team too. But at A&M, night game, they're doing like a blackout or something. So big deal for them, I guess. 35-24, I have A&M getting this win, but I really hope they don't.
Yeah, this was a tough one for me because when I was picking these preseason for the segment we thought we were going to do, I had State at 4-0. Then I had them dropping the game to Tennessee. I'm like, man, but they could totally win that game. But ended up picking Tennessee, hit on that, and I got to this game, and I immediately put win, and I was like, wait, they probably are going to lose this game though. I want them to win because they have historically had A&M's number in the past decade or two, but Something just was telling me that A&M was probably going to have more firepower, and they have shown to be that. Mississippi State has even exceeded my expectations on what they can be holistically as a team right now. If they win this game, we'll be having a crazy conversation next week. If I don't know, we'll be able to record next week. I'm going to be out of town. We'll get to that in a second. But the next podcast that we meet for, if State wins this game, we'll be having a completely different conversation. If they lose, I'm not going to drop them down too much if it's close. I really like this team. I think that they've overperformed already. So they're already ahead of the standards that everybody has set for them, and even me, and I had them pretty high. So big game, big upset pick for me. It probably won't pay off, but if they do pull off a win at Texas A&M in a night blackout game, that would be crazy. Considering they are top six right now, it'd be probably the first road top 10 win Mississippi State's had in a long time.
We did beat them at home in 2016 with Nick Fitzgerald when they were number 4.
Oh, I
We
remember
were
that.
like 3-5 coming into the
Y'all wore
game.
some crazy unis in that game, didn't y'all?
I think we might have wore black unis in that game.
Y'all debuted a uniform in that game. I forget what it was. I know y'all had like a silver uniform at one point. I know y'all played them in that one
Silver
time.
uni was interesting.
That was an interesting era. But yeah, I think that's probably going to do it for our week 5 predictions. So, real quick, I kind of want to outline a couple things before we wrap up. Me and Landon are going to be in two completely different states probably for the next 2 weeks. This weekend, I'll be leaving to go out of town, and I won't be back for the next 2 weekends. Ole Miss has a bye. I think we play Washington State the week after, so I wasn't planning to go to the Washington State game anyway. But we just couldn't find any games in week 6 or 7 that we really wanted to go to. So I won't be traveling to any college football games for the next 2 weekends, but I will be watching plenty of it. And we will probably look at trying to do some sort of recording for the podcast, whether we kind of do our individual breakdowns on our own and we make a smaller video or we hop on a Zoom call, whatever that looks like, we're going to try to figure that out. Maybe we skip a week and take a break and try to double up the next time we meet, but that's just going to be a lot of material. So maybe a little inconsistent on posting probably for the next 2 weeks, but I think we've already made it through almost half the season now. We're holding strong. This has been a lot of fun. I think we're both above like 65% on our picks right now, which is really solid. I think cumulatively we're almost 70% average. So if you really do like betting on college football and that's your thing, we've been picking some really good picks so far. A lot of upset picks. Mississippi State has been a shining star in my upset picks. I hope they don't prove me wrong this weekend, but that'll do it for us. We'll be back with another episode, hopefully the next week or two.